bizdev live, weekdays at 11 Eastern time. Bizdev live, weekdays at 11 Eastern time. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. This is business development, not even selling it. This is intelligent. If you watch it, I promise you benefit. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Leadership and motivation, empathy. Weekdays at 11 Eastern time. BizDev live. Weekdays at 11 Eastern time. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T.
Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you checking in today. I want to talk about some time management tips, getting into what is important in terms of how to manage your time. I think one of the things that we all struggle with in developing our business, developing our products, is how to best manage our time throughout our day. Right now in the pandemic, I'm struggling in so many different ways to manage my time, doing so many good things, but also understanding that I want revenue. I want to bring in income. So how do we get there, right? And there's certain things that I know that I'm supposed to do that I haven't always done or I'm not doing. So we're going to go through these, and I'm speaking as much to myself as I am to you. So we'll go through these things, and I hope they're as helpful to you as I know that they will be to me. All right. So if you're having trouble with your time, keep a time log, right? If you want to spend your time better, the first step is figuring out exactly how you spend it now. While recording a day or two is helpful, I recommend keeping track of your time for a week to get the best picture of life. Suggests Laura Vanderkam, author of I Know How She Does It, How Successful Women Make the Most of Their Time. A week is the cycle of life as people actually live it. What's a normal day for you? Tuesday or Saturday? They both occur just as often and have the same number of hours, but looking at each of them individually would give a very different picture of life. And I'll share the screen so you guys can read along with me as well. But this is something that, I've sort of been resistant to do in terms of tracking my time. And this is something that I would really recommend for anybody. When I have staff, I ask them to track their time so that once they're going through a task, they know two things. One, how long something takes, because that's something that very few people are actually familiar with, how long something actually takes to do. And then you get to celebrate the success when you're actually able to shave the time off of something. And without that actual tracking, you really just don't have that picture. So setting goals, but going back to the keeping a time log, find the way that works for you, whether it's with a calendar, whether it's with keeping a Google Doc open, but manage that time. If it's writing it down and transcribing it at the end of the day, just find the way that's easiest for you and works for you. If it's doing it on your phone, there's lots of apps, but I think, to the point of a week is the cycle of life as people actually live it. What's a normal day for you? Tuesday or Saturday? They both occur just as often and have the same number of hours, but looking at each of them individually would give a very different picture of life. Find a way that you can track your time throughout your week. One of the things that I did, at the start of this pandemic to really shift how I was able to spend my time and enjoy my week was by setting time not only for my work activities but for my family activities, and that was a big differentiator, or something that really helped a lot. To set goals. Obviously, you cannot literally manage time, no matter how amazing you are. You can, however, manage how you use your time, and how you use your time should always be guided by effective goal setting. In fact, one of the most essential time management skills you can possess is the ability to use time so that it best serves your goals. So the next time you question how to spend your time more wisely, focus on the actions that can help you achieve your goals. I sort of, compare this to just a recent brand process that I went through with Rob Genovese of Unleash Your Beast brand.com. By focusing on what my key brand essentials are, it makes choices easier. It's easier to say no things. So if you're going through a goal centric approach, if your top line goals are, you know, family or health, family, business, and then you define, you know, goals within those, it's easier to say yes and no to time. You know, there's so many different things to learn right now, so much more access to information. So how do you manage, what do you actually do, what do you actually learn throughout a day? Does it help with this goal? Does it help with that? You know, does it take away from that? It just becomes easier to make those decisions, and again, easier to manage your time. So the next time you question how to spend your time more wisely, focus on the actions that can help you achieve your goals. 3, complete the most important task first. Many would argue that this is key when it comes to time management, and it's a fairly easy task to sell. Each morning, start your day by identifying the 2 or 3 tasks that are the most crucial for you to complete. After that, do those tasks before anything else. Here's the kicker. Not only did you get those important out of the way, you already had a successful day. This means that you can use that momentum to finish less important tasks. I struggle with the prioritization, but again, if you go back to logging your time and you start understanding what things are sort of not aligned with your goals, I think it becomes easier to define those most important tasks, knock them out of the way, know that you got them off your to-do list. I always end up going back to like the time centric stuff first. Like, I know I need to get this done by X amount of time, or, you know, this is going to happen tomorrow, so I got to do that. And that's where I end up focusing my time, but that isn't necessarily the most important thing for my business or for me. So understanding those priorities and redefining those, and, you know, going back to that logging of time, it all starts with logging that time. So just getting really comfortable with understanding where you spend your time versus where you should be spending your time in terms of your priorities. Schedule your time. So this is something that's really been helping me lately. Time blocking and making sure that I got a handle on my calendar was a big struggle. Especially as we got into the pandemic, I was used to managing my time one way, and then now there was a whole new shift, and I started adding things in, like the 11 a.m. bizdev live, which I'm doing here with you now, and then also interviews for the Alumni Connections project for the nonprofit I work for, and then I was doing all these Zoom calls, as I imagine many people that are watching this and going to watch this are. How do you manage that time? And those are finite time blocks, with, especially like with the Zoom networking calls, where it's just an hour out of your time, and there's always another one that you could be catching. Should I be spending time on that? Should I not? Scheduling your time reduces stress and releases energy, writes motivational speaker and author Brian Tracy. The very act of using your organizational skills to plan your day, week, and month gives you a greater feeling of control, will help increase productivity throughout your day. You'll feel in charge of your life. It actually increases your self-esteem and improves your sense of personal power. So really having that finite calendar and scheduling your time, and I can speak to that from my personal experience by understanding my days, by scheduling time, and the top line, you know, priorities in terms of like health, family. And why do I put health in front of family? Well, I can't do much for my family if I'm not healthy myself, right? So, you know, we started these days, 6 a.m. I'm up doing personal exercise. Then we're doing 7 a.m. to 8:30. So I've not only built the priorities into my day, but I've sort of made that top line and how I focus my day, so that those things start my day. I'm still working on the business prioritization within that day, but health, top line, family, right into the business day. I feel much better about my business day because I've already gotten some stuff done on the health front and the family front, which motivates and powers me through my day. So understanding that, and scheduling that in. And then I have my things to break up the day where I got one-on-one time with my family for a lunch hour from 1:30 to 2:30 with my kids. Your lunch hour is going to be different. That's the time that works for me. So you just got to find the thing that works for you and your family. But, blocking that time, whether it's for a business activity or for the family, is really helpful. And just like this article is saying, really gives you that feeling of control over your day and confidence and self-esteem, because you're getting these things done. The article goes into this. Use the 6-12-6 rule. Catherine McKinnon, time management expert at McKinnon and Company, and author of Triple Your Time Today: 10 Proven Time Management Strategies to Create and Save More Time, developed a solution to handle the rabbit hole of email correspondence. Block out specific time to check communications instead of doing so throughout the day. McKinnon calls the 6-12-6 rule, where you check your email for 20 minutes at 6 a.m., 12 p.m., and again at 6 p.m. Now, if you just listen to me on my schedule, that timeline isn't going to work for me. But again, finding the time for you to check in with your email, and that's something that I struggle with as well. But also, I am not checking my email all day, and I actually have turned off notifications on my number one connection device for email, because you can get lost in trying to respond to an email, and then that derides your schedule. I want to highlight a client of mine. He was so bogged down with email that he couldn't get his best work done. He was spending 4 to 5 hours a day on email, which was a lot of time. We did analysis and discovered that 60% of the email he was working on weren't even related to his priorities or his true work. So I taught him my email system to help him with my email and accomplish his most important work, so he could work on email, but not all day long. I had him scan his email early in the morning, at lunchtime, and then again at the end of the day. He scheduled time to work on email, but not all day long. The client went through his email, picked out the ones related to his highest priorities. The other email he had someone else handle, filed or pushed off to another scheduled time or day. So I recommend you designate time to work on email. You also need to delete non-essential mail. Don't respond to every email. Unsubscribe from unessential news and categorize or file your email to access work easily. Now, I can't stress that point enough. Unsubscribe. If you're looking at your email and you're just blown away because there's all this stuff in there. Gmail in particular has the ability right now for you to get rid of stuff. So just, use the tools that are available to you, and just get rid of the crazy stuff out of your email box. That way, when you look at your email box, it's just easier to look at. Use the spam filters and that sort of thing. As a result, the client saved 10 hours per week just by reorganizing his time. We didn't reinvent the wheel. We just tweaked his system so that it was more efficient for him. So, tweaking your system on email can really save you a lot of time and add productivity to your day. Sleep hygiene. There's a misconception that sleep is counterproductive to productivity. After all, instead of sleeping, couldn't that be time be spent on something else? The reality is that when we're sleep deprived, we become less productive. We need 7 to 8 hours of quality to help our minds and bodies recharge so they can function optimally. And that's when sleep hygiene comes into play. Sleep hygiene describes the practice of having very similar routines every single night and morning in order to teach our bodies to fall asleep faster, sleep more soundly, and arise refreshed. I wake up a lot of times without the alarm because I'm getting more into a regular sleep pattern. You can do this too. It's just a matter of getting down and getting your pattern, really getting your schedule down, and understanding your day is really important, and not letting your certain other parts of your brain take control of you. I got a diet coach, and one of the things that I'm struggling with is just making sure that when I'm tired, I do go to bed, because a lot of times I'll snack, and that snacking is not even necessarily because I'm hungry. I'm just sleepy, and I'm doing something to keep me awake. So understanding that, you're probably not going to be very productive if you're up, like me at 6 a.m. in the morning, and then trying to do work at 10 o'clock at night. I'm a self-described night owl, like many people, but I also know that if I'm focused and fresh and I block the time out, something that took me 20 minutes, 30 minutes in the morning is going to take me 2 hours at night, because I'm watching Netflix to stay awake, doing different things to sort of keep my brain wired and in it, but not necessarily functioning the way that I should. Prioritize. This just to go to finish up on the sleep thing. This means going to bed the same time every night, waking up the same time. It also involves imposing a digital shutdown before bed, and finding a nighttime activity that helps you relax. So reading a great book, especially on entrepreneurial stuff, if you're in the biz dev space, trying to develop your business, reading a good book on how to make your business better is a great way to go to bed at night. Gets the brain really optimized to what you're working on, and a great way to tune out at the end of the evening. All right, prioritize. If you want to focus on productivity, it's important to prioritize. Take a look at your schedule and your business plan. What needs to be done today? What are the tasks that are important to accomplish in the coming week? Don't let yourself get sidetracked by other items that seem to pop up out of nowhere. I constantly have to remind myself that that a non-urgent text or a Facebook message doesn't have to be answered immediately. It can wait until later, and likely it should wait till later, right? Pay attention to the priorities and stay focused on those items as you move forward. Also, let your employees know that what the priorities are, and reward them for sticking to the priorities. That way you are more likely to see in the long run with overall productivity. So if you got people that are working with you, contractors, that sort of thing. I know that's one thing that is a challenge with me sometimes. Folks will have different priorities, and it's like, yep, that's a great idea, but this is our goal. Yep, that's a great idea, but this is our goal. Yep, that's a great idea, but this is our goal. Yep, that's a cool thing, but this is the goal. So staying goal-oriented, learning to say no. There are times when making lots of time commitments can be beneficial. For one, it can help us to learn how to handle various engagements at once. It also teaches us how to manage our time and keeps us busy so that we're not wasting time. However, making too many time commitments can also backfire. This is because it spreads your time too thin so that you won't be able to focus on the most important things for you. Eventually, you're going to have to start saying no. There's so many opportunities for Zoom networking. If you're somebody in Master Networks that's watching this, all the different Zoom opportunities, and really, like, if you're able to market on the national stage, so many opportunities to be just marketing all the time across the United States, being in different markets. The ability to do that freely right now is a huge opportunity. I encourage people to take advantage of that opportunity. However, manage your time, know what your goals are, set your time limits, make sure that your major goals are taking priority. You don't want the challenge of you're doing all the marketing, but you're not doing anything to actually bring in the revenue and move forward on your goals. Remember, you should only take on commitments that you know that you have time for and that are important to you. And this is important for personal brand, right? So if you're accepting something, if you're saying yes to something, you're only doing a service to that person if you can actually commit and make yourself look pretty awesome with the achievement of that task or opportunity. If you say yes and it doesn't come out well, then that doesn't make you look good. So understanding that, you can be doing somebody a favor by saying no, because you know that you're not in a position to do the best job and they would be better off asking somebody else. That's a really important piece. And then, making sure that you're understanding and accepting things in a way that when you say yes, you're really making yourself happy as well is really important. We can do a lot. And I feel like we, as business people, really do better when we are saying yes to things that are within our core abilities and things that are synergistic with what we're doing. So if I'm doing marketing for MPI, an association, a network, that sort of thing, if that's a part of my everyday and that's what I want to be learning and doing, then it's cool to accept that. If I'm doing something that isn't really going to help me with what I'm doing, then it's not very conducive, even though I might be good at it or better at than somebody else. It's not really in line with my goals unless I'm enjoying it or getting something out of it. So being really careful with your time and what you say yes to is important. Take breaks. We only have 90-minute attention spans, says Washington Post reporter and author Bridget Schultz of Overwhelmed. Work, love, and play when no one has the time. The brain can concentrate on anything if it knows a break is coming soon. Choose your most important task and do it first when your willpower is strongest and your mind is freshest. Then plan to devote your attention in 30, 45, or 90-minute pulses, then take a break. This is important for event design too. 10-minute attention span, 90-minute attention spans. What does all that mean? If you've done anything on neuroscience, people, if they're listening or dealing with a speech, their brain shifts and goes somewhere else in 10 minutes or less. Understand, we work in a lot of different ways, what we pay attention to, how we organize our time. When it talks about 90-minute attention span, what is the amount of time that we can truly focus on an individual set of tasks before we feel like we need to get up and shake it out. I think there's lots of different information and competing logic on this. But if you're somebody that needs to move around, maybe a standing desk is for you, but really understanding that you can't just function all day. You got to sleep. You got to eat at some point. Taking things in a way where you can sort of reward yourself or break the day up so that you feel like you didn't just slog through one thing is really important. So understanding that you're going to do things in blocks of time is really important. And then building in breaks is really important as well. So understand that when building out your calendar, that you can't leave yourself with some white space and breathing time between meetings. Even if you're stacking meetings, which big networking strategy is to stack meetings so that, if you're having half an hour meetings on Zoom, I schedule that call and then I have another person coming in. So it does two things, which I really like. One, it shows the other person that you're, I want to say busy, but you're meeting with other people. It allows for a finite transition. I'm not just jumping off the call because I don't want to talk to you. I have somebody waiting for me, and it shows that. And then you get to introduce one person to the other person, so you're a connector. So it really does a lot of things that are helpful to scheduling and to reputation and to personal brand, all in that. Even with that, though, there's a limit. I wouldn't schedule more than 3 of those in a row. You're going to need to take a bio break. You're going to need to, grab a cup of coffee. And if you're just on, it just can be overwhelming. And by the time you get to the 4th or 5th person, that focus certainly wouldn't be there. So I would definitely, even when stacking your calls, be just really focused in scheduling that out and making sure that you're not building too much just difficulty into your schedule where it's going to be a challenge, especially when building week after week on your calendar. Develop emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence can be defined as the ability to identify and manage your own emotions and the emotions of others. As such, problem solving or help you calm down when you're worked up, right? Those with emotional intelligence possess qualities like not being a perfectionist, knowing how to balance life and work, and staying focused. They're also self-motivated, are aware of their strengths and weaknesses, and can set boundaries. In other words, having a high emotional intelligence can give you productivity, a boost, since it assists you in completing tasks and achieving goals. Right? And just like I talked about before, leave a buffer between your tasks. Rushing from task to task makes it difficult to stay focused and motivated. So you can use the strategy of stacking, but understand before your stack and after your stack of meetings, probably want to make sure that you have time to follow up on all the notes, because obviously it went from one person to the next. So there was things that, emails, action items, things that you were going to follow up, people to refer, make sure that you build some time in so that, you can go through that and do some of the deliverables that will really bring value to some of those face-to-face meetings that you're having on Zoom or in real life. because if you do the meeting and there's no follow-up, what was the point of the meeting, right? So really understanding that and building that into your schedule is really important, right? By allowing ourselves downtime between tasks, we're providing a breath of fresh air for our brains, whether if it's sitting at your desk doing nothing, going for a short walk, meditating, or performing some other mind-clearing exercise. Always give yourself a little bit of time between tasks. So even knowing that, if you're stacking meetings, I got some time to deliver email, even plan a little bit of time in there. Again, bio breaks, taking a walk, getting up, getting a little bit of exercise. I've had issues with my back, so knowing that, we can sort of have time to just get some of those pieces in your day of doing some of the physical exercise that we know we need to make ourselves function and feel good in our space is really important. Delegate and outsource. There will be times when you want or need to delegate certain work to others. Of course, that doesn't mean passing off all of your important work to somebody else. It means finding the right person to handle certain tasks that aren't as important. I'm doing this in a lot of different ways, but one of the things that's best to realize is the things that you're not really great at and have somebody else do those, because why are you struggling through this? Timothy Ferriss in 4 Hour Work Week talks to this in a great deal. If there's something that you just don't enjoy doing, you're really not that great at, make sure that is the first thing that you get off your plate. It's really important. This is particularly true if the task is more suited to somebody else's skill set. For example, if you are not strong at math, then maybe delegate or outsource accounting tasks to someone else. Just make sure that this is a person who understands what exactly is expected of them. And to add to that, there's a system and a process in place, especially when it comes to your financials. Understanding what the system and processes are really important for you, so that you have a way to check on things like that and you're not outsourcing needlessly. There may be things that, because you haven't put a system and process into place, hey, Pia, boundaries, I need to work on this. Yeah, absolutely. Because there's a system or a process in place, you may find that you don't need to outsource something. So in creating the ability to outsource something, because you don't want to do it willy-nilly, you want to put a system and a process in place, even if working with somebody to get that system and process. So get the system and process. Anybody that's just going to say, I'm going to do it all for you, I'd be skeptical. They don't necessarily know what your needs are and what your particular business is and what you need. So get your system and process in place. And then if it makes sense, teach somebody else that system and process and how to fit into it. And that's how you can outsource stuff. I really don't think that you outsource willy-nilly and just say, okay, do this all for me, because that can lead to some very horrific results, especially when it comes to accounting and finances, but also with other things. If you're offloading any kind of client related things, system and process for dealing with your clients. At some point, if you own a restaurant and you're inviting somebody in to take over the hostess stand, I think you really want to make sure that your host is inviting people into the restaurant, thanking them for coming into the restaurant. It is so great to have you this evening. Such a pleasure. I'm so happy that you chose our restaurant. Come right this way. That's a great experience. That's probably the experience that you would like to give. But if you haven't built that system and process, the template for how they should be welcoming somebody in, and you just invite somebody to come in, the chances are that they're going to say something along the lines of, oh, how many in your party? Okay, right this way, which isn't bad, but we've all had those experiences when we walk into a restaurant that are better and worse. And what would you rather like? And especially when it comes to your clientele, what kind of experience do you want to give so that they're continuing to come through the door? So having those systems and processes are really, really, really important. And again, it's time saving because it's revenue increasing, and you're spending less times on the problems and challenges that come up after if you don't have a system and process in place. So that's a big goal that we should all have for any kind of task that's within our business, is a system and a process for dealing with any given task or item. And that's how we create a turnkey business that actually is able to scale. All right. Don't think of the totality of your to-do list. Have you ever reviewed your to-do list in the morning and felt completely overwhelmed? It's obviously because your to-do list is just a little too hefty. But it's also because you're looking at the entire list, which isn't going to get shorter until you start crossing items off. Instead of looking at that list in totality, focus on the one task in front of you, this one single solitary task. After that, move on to the next. Always remember, take one step at a time and breathe. So often we're put into the trap of multitasking, and it's really important for us all to know that really multitasking doesn't exist. The only way for us to get anything done is to complete that one task and then move on to another. Can we walk and chew gum? Can we walk and talk on the phone? I mean, can we drive and talk on the phone at the same time, hands free? Yeah, it's possible, but it's probably not the optimal way to do anything. We understand if we're focusing on what we need to focus on. If I'm on a phone call, I have a notepad in front of me to take care of action and to-dos. I understand that's probably the better way to be on the phone than having my hands working and being distracted by other things going on in my environment. I think we all appreciate being on the phone with somebody that is at their desk and focused and writing down notes versus somebody that we know is distracted by driving or being with kids and family. I think we've all been in that place where we've been frustrated because the other person on the other line was not completely focused on us in our conversation. If you've ever been on the phone with somebody from a company and you can hear all the background noise and there's side conversations going on with colleagues, you know that multitasking is not helping you, right? So we can understand that and be empathetic and understand that if we're going to schedule time to be on the phone with somebody, that we should be completely focused. I've definitely been in that situation where I was scheduling time with somebody and they were like, yeah, I'll be in the car at that time. Yeah, I can talk to you then. And I'm like, oh, I'm already disappointed because I know that conversation is not going to be the ideal conversation. So that's really important in scheduling your time. If you're going to be driving, maybe that's time that's really better spent on, if you feel like you have, brain space, maybe it's a time that you put on a recorder and, talk about your book chapter or talk about things that you want to do in terms of the future into a recorder or to get or refine your pitch, but maybe they're not times that you should be on the phone with somebody. Pia says, I learned a new one 2 weeks ago. Have that piece of paper only once. Anything that handle that piece of paper once. Anything that you have in your hands to do something with. If it's a bill, pay it and file it. If it was a contract, review and send it off. Yeah, absolutely. This is a great time management thing that, I struggle with. I got piles. If I turn this computer around, you would see there's a desk over there that has a pile of stuff on it. Many pieces of mail that, just a piling up. Pierre on the same wavelength here. So, the big challenge, with this is sometimes you can't pay the bill. Sometimes you can't manage this. So, the secret sauce there is to take a picture of that, put it on the calendar, block time to deal with that thing. Whether that's calling the company to set up another payment arrangement, setting up a date and time that you will be able to pay it so that you can actually file that away with Google Calendar at least. And you should be able to do this with Outlook as well, but you can attach things to a calendar item. So you can take a picture of that bill, put it on the calendar. With Google, there's actually to-do pieces that will sit on the side of your calendar. I know Outlook has similar options. So just finding the best system that you're actually going to look at and deal with, but you can file those pieces of paper, even not taking specific the end all be all action, like a bill, let's pay it, right? So maybe I can't do that now, or maybe there's an issue with this bill, but I don't have the time to make that phone call now. I can put it on my calendar and blocking time, because putting even, the advice around putting together a to-do list is great, but if you haven't blocked time to do the action, then it's almost a guarantee that it won't be done. So blocking that time is more important than the to-do list. So the to-do list should live in your calendar, and making sure that you have blocked some time, and making sure that you have a system that if something doesn't get done within that time, that you can move it forward and move it onto the calendar forward is really important. All right. Another time management thing that I know is tough for folks: wake up early. I wake up at 6 a.m. and I'm not even trying to wake up earlier. It's not because I'm some crazy early riser. It's because waking up that early makes me more productive. In fact, research has found that early risers are more proactive and consistent. Waking up first thing in the morning also allows me to exercise, review my calendar, catch up on emails, and eat healthy. As a result, excuse me, I already feel calm, collected, and accomplished, right? Getting up in the morning, not wasting daylight, right, is really critical and crucial. This is something that's allowed me to spend more time with my family by getting up earlier and building time for family in the morning. I find that for kids in schoolwork too, having that regular schedule, and how many times have you heard that if you're a parent, having consistent schedule, having a set routine, right? To build that routine, getting kids out and physically moving in the morning. So I get up at 6 a.m., get my physical exercise in, and then at 7 a.m., we get the kids out and get them moving. And then as they're hitting their classes at 9:30 in the morning, their brain is more receptive and more positive to the day ahead of them. That's really important and critical for my routine and my day, because if my kids are more positive, that means they're interrupting me less, because I am working from home, and I work from home all the time. But I know there's other people that are struggling because they're working at home now for the first time, because of the pandemic. So it's one of those things that I think is really critical. I've spoken about it on this program before. Having that schedule, especially for your kids, is something that'll make their attitude more positive, and it'll make bedtimes more consistent. If there is a consistent wake up time, and I was talking about my wife with this, the kids in her family when she was a kid, they could go to bed at whatever time they wanted, but they were always expected to be up at like 6 a.m. in the morning. That's when their mother would get them up. So you could go to bed late, but you were getting woken up at the same time. There was none of this sleeping in business. So, if you could go to bed late, but then you would suffer the consequences. So either way, you're going to get into that routine of understanding I got to go to bed if I don't want to feel like crap the next day. So I think that's really important for us and for our kids, getting that sleep in. And by setting up that wake up early thing, it makes a finite into our day, so that the day doesn't go on forever. I'm sure you've all broken night with me at some point or another, and suffered the consequences the next day. It makes the next day very almost not productive at all. And really importantly, how much work did we actually get done the night before? I know I've had very productive evenings where I did get through something. I've also had nights where I just slugged away and it really just seemed like a waste. And then I was suffering through it for the next day, especially at 42 years old. Maybe at 20, it was a different thing, but at 42, just almost impossible to have a really good and productive day after not getting enough sleep the night before. All right, finally, use the right tools. Want to know the secret to getting more stuff done? Find and use the right tools. This doesn't mean that you should overdo it by downloading every tool that you promises to help with time management or productivity. It means finding the right tools for you. And so I'd say on this note, the right way to find the right tools is to ask colleagues what they are utilizing, experiment, try to use the free versions of things and find out if something really works for you. And then, once you find something that works for you, then go all in and make it work for you until you find something better. You really won't find those tools that work best for you if you don't do some trial and error. So definitely work through it. Having your goals and understanding what you need is really important. I took all of these tips from calendar.com/blog/time management best practices. You can Google that on Google, and you will find an article by Nina Glass that was very helpful and hit a lot of the themes that I'm reading about all the time. It was the number one pop-up on Google when you put in time management. So manage your time better, log your time. I'm just going to go through this really quickly, the highlights here, right? Keep a time log, set goals, complete the most important tasks first. You'll understand what that task needs to be by logging your time and understanding your goals. Schedule your time, making that calendar, right? Use the 6-12-6 rule for email. So make sure that there's 3 set times during the day that you check email for maybe 20 minutes at most at a time, not constantly all day. The 6-12-6 rule is 6 a.m., 12 p.m., 6 p.m. I don't do those times. I'll do like 10 a.m., 2 p.m., or 2:30 p.m. and 6 p.m., that sort of thing. So just find the times that work best for you. And that way you'll be able to better manage the time suck that email can be. Sleep hygiene, make sure you get your sleep in there. Really the way secret sauce to powering through the next day is just being high energy. Make sure you're getting the food and sleep that you need. Prioritize, let those goals be a part of your prioritization. Learn to say no to the things that aren't a priority. Take breaks. Make sure that you're making your brain happy and you happy and your body happy. Get those breaks in so that you can get your exercise, so that you can breathe, and so that you can break up your day and make you feel like you've done more than just one thing all day. Develop emotional intelligence. So understanding the way your emotions work and the way others' emotions work. Went through the example of just dealing with somebody that you were making a reservation for a phone call on, in terms of like business call, and if they're driving, right, knowing your emotional intelligence enough to say, hey, let's schedule another time when you're not driving, right? Understanding what your needs are and what other people's needs are in your scheduling is really important. Leave a buffer time between tasks, delegate or outsource, whatever makes sense. The added on tip that I have around there is system and process in place for anything that you're outsourcing, so that there's a way to judge that, whether it's successful or not, is really, really important. Don't think of the totality of your to-do list. Knock one thing off at a time. Schedule it into the calendar and block out time. Really, the to-do list is not a to-do list if you've not blocked out time. A to-do list is just a list if you haven't blocked out time to actually do the things on your to-do list. Wake up early, go to bed early, wake up early. Don't waste the daylight, and you'll get more productive with that. Schedule the things that are most important to you. For me, health, family, business, right? I can't help anybody if I'm not healthy. My family is what I do the business for. My business comes third. Very important to make sure that I'm healthy and that I'm enjoying my family, so that I'm motivated to do things well in my business. Use the right tools, right? Develop and experiment, and ask colleagues for their best practices and the tools that they use. Thanks, Pia, for watching. Thanks, everybody that tuned in today. I really appreciate you tuning in live or in the future. Doing me a favor and hit that subscribe button and like this video and share with somebody that needs a little help with their time management. And with that, we will get into my theme song. There we go. If I can get it up. There we go. Can you hear that theme song? Here we go. Here we go.
Weekdays at 11 Eastern
Thanks a lot for everybody tuning in. I really appreciate you. See you tomorrow.
Not even selling it. This is intelligent. If you watch it, I promise you benefit. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T. BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time.